at BigCountryPreps.com. I'm Evan Wren, and this is the Countdown to Two-A-Days series. Our daily look at an area football team and the key questions we'll be answering about that team in our August 20th preseason preview here at Big Country Preps. I'm with my partner, Dan Youngblood, via Zoom, and tonight, Dan, we're talking about the Jim Ned Indians.
Yeah, this is a Jim Ned program that has been among the area's most successful, really going back 5, 6, 8 years. They've been a really quality program and coming off a really nice year in Coach Jonathan McClure's first season as head coach. They went 9-4 last year and returned a pretty good group from that bunch. 23 of their 45 lettermen return, including 6 offensive and 7 defensive starters, so a nice nucleus to build from. But they do have some questions they'll need to answer, and we'll talk about a few of those here in just a few minutes.
All right, and before we do that, we want to remind you folks to please hit the subscribe button on YouTube. It's free. After that, please hit that little bell and you'll get notifications each and every time that we come up with a new video and post it there. And with that, Dan, some of the key questions that we're going to have about Jim Ned this year, go ahead and fire first.
I think the first one that kind of jumps off the page at me is one at a key position. That's the quarterback. It's who's going to be manning that spot and who's going to replace Gray Beasley, who did a really nice job for a really good Jim Ned team last year. That's going to be a big question as far as how their offense is going to operate. I think they've got a couple of options there. You look and they've got junior Tucker Deal, a kid who was their JV quarterback last year, and then Cash Gwynn, a guy who played primarily defense last year. So they've got a couple of guys who are going to have to step in there and replace what the production that they lost from last year with Beasley, who again was a very efficient player. Got some skill talent around him. A really good running back, Aiden Ellis, had over 1,400 rushing yards last year. Breck Lawson is a very explosive receiver. So this quarterback's going to have some weapons to work with around them. But that's going to be a big spot. So that's the biggest question I have is what are they going to get from their quarterback position this year?
I'm curious about how good they're going to be up front. This Jim Ned program over the last few years has had several dominant offensive linemen, very good people in the defensive front seven. I'm just curious about how good they're going to be up front. I'm an old timer. I'm old fashioned. I still believe that football, the key elements are running the ball, or at least the ability to run the ball, and then stopping the run defensively. Um, so those two key elements, without them, it really becomes difficult to win. So because once you get in the red zone, you have got to be able to run the ball. So I'm just curious about how good they're going to be up front. If if they produce up front, this can be a really good football team. It's got a ton of people, 40 people on the roster, 23 returning lettermen, lots of experience, but it still comes down to blocking and tackling. And if they can find a way to keep that going, and they've been good at both for the last few years, I think we're going to see another good Jim Ned football team.
Yeah, and fortunately for them, that's been a strength of theirs. And you are right, not quite as large up front as they've been in recent years, but they do have some experience there, so that will be interesting to watch. The last question I have is pertaining to experience, but it's on the coaching side. Last year, I mentioned that Coach McClure had a really strong first season, going 3 rounds deep in the playoffs and threatening to go deeper. This team had an opportunity to go even deeper in the playoffs than it did. Played a really close game in the game in which it was eliminated. So my question is, now he's got that experience behind him. I know anytime it's your first year at anything, there's a large learning curve. So I'm just interested in seeing how much more comfortable he is going into year 2 than he was in year 1. I would imagine the answer is probably pretty significantly. So I'm interested to see just how much maybe smoother offseason goes, how much smoother 2 days go, and how much farther ahead is this team than maybe last year's, just because he feels more comfortable in that role. So if that is the case, I think this could be a really special year for Jim Ned. I think they've got talent back, obviously some holes to fill in some key spots, but it's going to be interesting to see how this year goes and see how things go in Coach McClure's second year.
Well, one thing that's almost on that subject, one thing that's almost guaranteed is you'll get more reps. You don't have to sit and explain everything to everybody because they know the system now. And you're going to get a lot more snaps in practice, a lot more reps. And that's just one of the big differences between first year and second year. Things do go smoothly, or a lot more smoothly.
Yeah, but that's going to be interesting to watch. I think it's if things go well, I think this Jim Ned team has a shot to have a really nice season.
All right, we're going to be taking a look at Jim Ned's schedule for 2025. But before we do that, we need to thank a few of our sponsors. Beginning with For the Love of the Game Broadcasting, and our old friend Terry Slavens, owner of K-Lakes 93.5 FM out of Breckenridge, 97.7 FM KATX out of Eastland, Classic Country AM 1330 out of Graham, 94.7 FM KWKQ out of Graham, KROO 1430 AM out of Breck, and KWBY 98.5 FM out of Ranger. That is For the Love of the Game Broadcasting. Also, Rob Durham, sales consultant at Bayer Chevrolet Buick Cadillac up in Breckenridge. If you're in the market for a new vehicle or a used vehicle, call Rob. He's one of the nicest guys you'll ever want to meet. Give him a shout at 254 559 2266. That's Rob Durham up at Bear Chevrolet Buick Cadillac in Breckenridge. And finally, Cavalry Resources and Construction, located up in Breckenridge, serving the entire big country, offering custom standing seam roofing made on location and all commercial roofing applications. Give Kobe Walker a shout at 254 246 5546. That is Cavalry Resources and Construction in Breckenridge. All right, and with that, we're going to be taking a look at Jim Ned's schedule for 2025. We'll start with the non-district portion first. Lubbock Estacado will come to Tuscola on August 29th in the season opener for both clubs. A neutral site, Mineral Wells, will play host to both Jim Ned and Cedar Hill Trinity Leadership on September the 5th. A home date with Wall on September 12th. And then they go on the road. They'll face Jacksboro away from home, and that'll be a tough ball game. And then they face Holiday, another tough one, on the 26th rather, and that will end the non-district portion. And they'll jump into an open date.
Yeah, and following that open date after a really tough non-district schedule, they'll jump right into league play with a home game against Comanche on October 10th. They'll travel to Breckenridge on the 17th of October, host San Angelo TLCA on the 24th of October, go to Clyde for a Halloween night road game, and then they'll close out their regular season at home with a big game against Sweetwater on November 7th.
All right. Game of the year. Often we'll say games of the year, but in my opinion, it is game of the year, Dan. I think you'll probably agree. The way I see it, that season finale at home against Sweetwater could very well be for all the marbles.
Yeah, that one jumps off the page to me for sure as the game for likely to decide that district championship. Uh, but it's this is an interesting schedule. You've got several teams are expected to be better, and I think that in this case, Jim Ned's district schedule's kind of backloaded just with what teams are expecting this year. So those last two at Clyde and then Sweetwater at home, I think will be big ones. But yeah, the Sweetwater one for sure looks to be the big one and the biggest game, the game of the year, and that's the one I think that you'll see a lot of people circle on their calendars.
All right, that just about wraps up this edition of the Countdown to Two-A-Days series, the Jim Ned Indians. But before we do that, we want to remind you folks that August 20th is the big day here at Big Country Preps. That's the day that we release our annual preseason preview of all teams in the big country and a few just on the outside of the big country. It is the most comprehensive look at area football of any media source, either in our area or across the state for that matter. August 20th, don't forget, join us.
In the meantime, we appreciate you joining us for this episode of our Countdown to Two-A-Days series and encourage you to come back tomorrow when we take a look at those Sweetwater Mustangs here at BigCountryPreps.com.